live. I told myself 26 days, committed to my commitment to consistency and consistently delivering value to the community, just sharing out there. Hey, Siobhan Reed, good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you in the speaker showcase this up and coming Saturday in Atlanta, Georgia. If you're looking for some dynamic inspiration, motivation, it's not my topic for this evening, but my lineup of speakers for this Saturday's professional speaker showcase is off the chain. So make sure to inbox me if you want the details, the information, and the link. Normally it's $50 to get into the event, but I can get you in for free. And you won't come out the same. But back to the challenge. Remember, 26 days. I challenge myself every day. I'm going to go live here in Instagram, getting comfortable with my technology, understanding the laws of consistency, and making sure to consistently teach something during this 26 days of ABCs of Money Challenge. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about how mindset impacts our money. And every day I'm going to choose a letter of the alphabet to focus on. And I'm going to tell you today, this was one of those days where there's an F word that I don't use on live recordings, just in case my sponsors are looking at other things that I say. But I was like, man, F it. It's late. Who's going to know if you don't go live? You could do it tomorrow. You could pre-record it. You could just get one of your videos from another time you've taught it. But you know who would know? I would know. And it's always a fight for territory when you're looking to do something new or something different. That there are going to be forces that oppose your energy, and you have to fight through those things to prove that you're worthy of what you want. So fight for it. Fight for it is going to be one of the concepts in this mindset when it comes to financial freedom. By the way, somebody keep a transcript for me. Oh, I forgot to give everybody parameters of the challenge. 2 ways you can participate in the challenge. 1, you can challenge yourself to listen every day and learn the vocabulary and put those words to use. Meaning, this is what I understand about why more people aren't more fiscally fit, more financially stable, is just not having the vocabulary to understand and interpret the things that happen in their daily life, because it's not what we're taught about language in school. It's not the conversations that we're taught to have. It's impolite to talk about money at the dinner table in some families, but we got to change that if we're going to ever have money to break bread on that table. So this financial education is focused on helping people to understand the things that we didn't know and how to put the pieces together so that we can create a different reality. Because words are words. Think about this. The words that you say and the words that you hear create the thoughts that you think, which create the actions that you perform, and those produce the results that you have. So if you ever want to fix something that's happening in your life, whether it's your fitness, your finances, or your family life, start with upgrading your vocabulary and the thought processes that produce the results. So when it comes to financial freedom, I want to make it fun. There's a word in finance, fundamentals. Let's put the fun back in understanding the fundamentals of financial fitness and getting to a place where finances become fun versus a source of frustration. And as we talk through this process, I do want to separate the facts from the fiction when it comes to how we feel about money. See, we're taught in this particular economy. It's not actual teaching, it's training. And there's a difference between teaching, financial education, between education and training. And I was reminded of the study of the scientist, animal behaviorist Pavlov. He's known for his famous study of Pavlov's dog and the response of a stimulus on the digestive system of a dog. Meaning, in Pavlov's experience, he trained his dog that every time he fed the dog, he rang a bell. Every time he fed the dog, he rang a bell. So that every time he rang the bell, the dog would learn to salivate. Well, I'll submit to you that the financial systems of our current economy, the combination of the way that we're trained in schools to do certain things at a certain time in a certain way. Bell rings, change activity. Bell rings, go to lunch. Bell rings, go home. So that by the end of our training in our formative years, we end our formal education trained to go from one place to another based on a system of bells, to moderate our digestive system and our need for food based on a system of bells, even to know when we're finished when the bell rings. I know y'all didn't think I was going there with that, but that's training. But that's not the only source of training that we get. As a matter of fact, in the American culture, there's so many things that the financial institutions have figured out that they manipulate us consistently to create a result, meaning there are literal food and flavor psychologists that study the relationship with the human eye and the digestive system. And there is a reason that almost every restaurant has the color red somewhere in its logo for fast food, so that we're triggered as we drive by. You weren't even thinking about Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or Burger King or Dairy Queen. Check the logos. But suddenly when the fast food trigger goes together, we get the Pavlovian response that we got to go, we got to pull in. You deserve a break today. Those are categories, just thoughts, process. Now, what's the difference, Richard? If you're saying that that's the conditioning, that's what we're conditioned to do based on a result, how do we recondition our minds so that rather than being forced into a system where we're feeding our dollars into an economy that's not feeding them back to us, how do we reprogram? Well, the first step is awareness. Like once you're aware that you're being manipulated, you do have choices in your response. Is the biggest advantage that human beings have over other species is responsibility. Now I know R is an R word and we'll get to it later, but we have the ability to choose our response. And once we can really examine the results of what happens when we feed the frenzy for fast food, is we can make a different decision, keep those dollars in our homes, but also make healthier choices on the food that we feed our families. Now, what I want to talk about with money oh man, by the way, family is probably the most important part in this conversation for me, because that's why we're here. What we're here to do is to create an ongoing family, meaning our existence is because someone came before us, and our legacy is because there's someone that we're leaving behind. And our job, if we choose to, is to move our families forward each generation that we're here on the planet. Meaning that if you look around and you realize that you didn't come from a wealthy family, recognize that it's your responsibility to make sure a wealthy family comes from you. How do we do it? First, we got to build that foundation. And when I talk about foundation, there is a series that I teach called Putting Your Financial House in Order. I won't go into that whole facilitation here, but if you go visit my YouTube channel, you'll see there's 6 modules of putting your financial house in order. But if you think about a house is built on a foundation, and a firm foundation gives it the stability to stand. Now, when it comes to the foundation for your financial future, that foundation has to be a combination of things. And I want you to jot these things down and search out where you can find them in your life. First, you have to have a goal, meaning something. So if you want to create success in anything, remember that success is the achievement of a worthy goal. So in order to create your personal financial success, you do have to start with a goal. And one of the ones that I set for my people is financial freedom. Financial freedom, what's the difference? Well, first of all, remember, freedom ain't free. But financial freedom means putting yourself in a position where you're able to live the rest of your life without having to go to work for anyone else. That's when you're financially free. How do we accomplish this? Well, we'll talk about the strategies for taking the income that we make at work. Because I make the assumption, if your family's like my family, we started off with that foundational formal education that put us in a place where we started fiscally dependent on someone else. The point where we reach independence, financial independence, is where we take the earnings from whatever we're doing, invest enough of those earnings in assets. We talked about assets in letter A, but assets, simply put, they're things that put money in your pocket. So whether it's businesses, paper assets, commodities, finding ways to find things to fund our future instead of us working for money. We got to move past that fixed mindset of I work for an hour, I get paid for an hour. What can I do to bring more value to the hour? But also, what other resources can I acquire or build that also produce income of their own? Does that make sense? So financial freedom is the goal. When are you financially free? When the income from your businesses, your rental properties, your other assets and investments make more money than it costs you to live, then you're free to do whatever you want to do with your day. You don't say, I have to go to work. If you choose to go to work, you say, I get to go to work. Does that make sense? So financial freedom, and there are phases that sounds like an F, but I know it doesn't start with one. There are phases to the financial freedom game, because you do start off, for most people, needing to reach a level of financial stability, then financial freedom, then ultimate financial freedom. What's that next level lifestyle that you live beyond what's commonplace, what people think of as being free? Now, at the same time, this is probably a good place to start to introduce some terminology. There are people, when I was pledging in Kappa, I ended up sometimes being called big words, because I do have a fondness for understanding the rhythm of words and where they come from. And one of the words that I had to learn and understand was fiduciary. Fiduciary is the fancy term for being financially responsible for making decisions in the best interest of an individual. It turns out that for many of us, the people that we count on to do things that are in our fiduciary interest, that's not their job. Meaning, I don't know if you know this, but the banks, checking and savings accounts, they need us to deposit our money so that they can loan it to other people. They pay us at a rate that is financially profitable to them, but nearly worthless to us. You know, we get paid less than pennies on the dollar. I think the going rate in the US for any amount of savings under $25,000 in any bank where you can see the building is less than 0.5%. But now imagine this. We operate on what's called a fractional reserve system. Put that in your notes. I won't make it deep today because it's late in the evening and we got stuff to do. But the fractional reserve system means that for every dollar that we put in the bank, they are able to loan a multiple, meaning they're able to loan $11 to $12 today based on every dollar that we have on deposit in a financial institution. I don't know if y'all hear me. They get to loan 10 to 12 times the money we have. The process is legal. It's called arbitrage in the banking industry. But I'm from East Point, and we used to call that flipping your money in the street, because they take $12 for every one of our dollars, and instead of 0.5%, they're loaning that money as a credit card, as a mortgage, as an auto loan. They make 6, 12, 29, 32% on the money, and they fix their faces to give us back these few little pennies for the investments that we've made. So understand the game when it comes to these financial institutions, and their fiduciary responsibility is to the stockholders. Their job is to make money for the bank, not for us. I was a grown man working before I understood that the bank wasn't necessarily obligated to operate in my best interest. Now, taking that thing a step further, one other thing that is important in the letter F is your FICO score, Fair Isaac credit, right? And what it is, it's a numerical value placed on your risk in terms of your ability to pay back money based on how you've paid back money in the past. And I'm gonna have to admit, y'all, I did not learn credit. All my years at Frederick Douglass High School, graduating, getting degrees from Duke University, getting out into the workplace, I had a very vague understanding of what counted in my credit score and how it counted either for or against me. But I want you to understand that the FICO score, that credit score, is used for so many things. At its root, your credit score determines how much you pay for money. And it works in an inverse way than people think, meaning most people would think that people would forgive those that don't have the best track record. Meaning, if you don't have enough money, why would you pay more for a house or a car? Well, the way that our financial institutions work is they pass on their risk to the borrower. Meaning the less money you have, the more money you have to put down on a house, and the more you have to pay in interest for that property. It's a system that keeps those that have already been financially fit, financially successful, rich, but poor still paying rent. I'm just pause for a second and just say, ask yourself this question: who does it benefit for you to have a poor credit score? Where do banks make more money? Do they make more money when they charge less in interest or when they charge more? Remember, that's their profit, is the interest that they receive on the payments that are being made on the funds that they're loaning. And oh, by the way, the funds they're lending aren't even their funds. That's our money. You know, the ultimate insult. You don't have to raise your hands in the chat, but if you've been in a situation where you went to borrow money from the financial institution where your check is direct deposited and you've been denied, just put ... in the chat. Like it's a real thing, but those financial institutions are making money on our money, building their future and their fortune by simply taking the information that they have and forcing people to pay them for access to use of our money. Process that through your thought process and then think, well, what's our alternative? Well, there is a process where we can take advantage of the same laws and statutes with different vehicles where we can become our own banks. When we get to the chapter on when I talk to you about infinite banking and how you can set up a vehicle where you can do arbitrage for yourself and for your family and become the first bank of your family, that's when we start to change things. And that's why our areas of focus are different. And I'll probably end right there because there's so many things that I could talk about when it comes to fundamental analysis, but I know it's time for y'all to go to bed, but I don't want to be the one to put you to sleep. But understand focus. Focus. It's an acronym. If you wrote the name from top to bottom, FOCUS, follow one course until successful. See, the failure rate in America is not based on how often people fail, but how often they fall and stay down. Meaning, if you look at anybody that's ever won at anything, they fail more, they fail faster, and they fail furiously, but they're still focused on where they're going, not on where they fell. And if any success in any area, whether it's financial, whether it's fitness, whether it's your relationships, it's determined by your focus. Here's what our society has done. It's distracted us and diffracted our focus. Meaning, if you think about this, if you take a light and focus that light, there's a process called light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Yeah, laser is an acronym. But if you focus that light, it can cut through steel. But what happens in most rooms and most environments, because of all of the things that reflect and refract and distract, people get off course. They make a decision to follow through on their finances. They make a decision to fix their future and build that fortune, but find themselves falling out of the race, not because of an actual failure, but because of a failure to focus and refocus after a fall. Whew, man, that's a mouthful. And F words are more difficult when you have braces. This is something I figured out. But here's what I want you to say to yourself. WTF. Yep. Yeah, I didn't cuss, but I didn't cuss. You did. But I want you to know that as we talk about these F's, when it comes to financial freedom, your freedom ain't free. There is a cost. Most of it is in financial education, focus, and following through on the things that we said we would do for our families. But if we get to the place where we fix the fallacies, we separate the facts from the fiction, understand that if you got a bad FICO score, it is a bruise, not a tattoo. It's not permanent. Once you understand, you can get where you want to be by focusing on finishing the mission. What's the mission? If you didn't come from a wealthy family, the wealthy family needs to come from you. That'll be my time for F. Siobhan, I want to thank you for joining me. Look forward to seeing all of you, not at the top, over the top, as we reach back and help everyone, each one teach one. Let's get this financial literacy on the map, start using different words to create different results. See y'all soon.